Hello guys, this video is not my usual approach. This is gonna be the breakdown of the feature, not step-by-step tutorial. So I'll explain the pipeline and the idea behind this feature, how I came up with it. Also, I'll show you how to set it up, and you can just plug and play it with your project. Of course, I'll tell you some pros and cons of this concept, and this feature is available completely free. The link is under the video. So yep, something like this, and let's get started. One more thing is that all that you can see in this video is actually the compilation of several features combined together. I have several separate videos that cover every aspect of this complete feature, and you can find them on my YouTube channel. It's step-by-step tutorial, so please, you're welcome to follow them. So, setup first and breakdown after. On the project that you downloaded, you can see the World Minimap folder. You can extract it to your project or use the sample one. I also should admit that this feature covers worlds and minimap and procedural navigation system with points of interest and other markers. So here we need to look after map tool. Once we've added to our scene, you can see the preview screen here. For better view, let's go to the top projection. This gray area, gray plane, is the projection plane that we will be using as the background for storing the reference for our world and minimap texture. We need to position it so its center will be the center of your landscape or your floor, and we need to adjust its size. On the details panel, we need to adjust world size in kilometers and adjust its position. That's okay. Next, we need to set capture size, set the proper name, now here we need to look after static mesh components. Select them all, and on the details we need to add the tag which is called capture. This feature uses scene capture component which works with particular elements such as static meshes, instant static meshes, etc., and it uses a show only list. Once we've done this, then we should select our map tool and then press capture. Once you've done this, there will be the dialog message that will propose you to import the captured texture. It is located here. This folder is automatically generated. It's called map projection, and here you can find t_map low poly, the one I used here. You can open it and see that's your world map. Now let's continue. Guys, I should admit that the number or the choice of static mesh actors is very versatile, because if you don't need to have everything stored in your world or minimap texture, you don't need to include them all with the capture tag and make the screenshot. You can also use this one as your map, or you can extract it and use as a reference in the Illustrator or the Photoshop to draw over it to make it more stylized or grayscale or etc. So next thing is to add navigation mesh volume, because it requires for the navigation system work. Without it, you can't build the path. For this, we need to use place actors, search for nav mesh, drag it to our scene, and then adjust its size and position. Then we can select something, press P to check whether navigation mesh is built correctly. That's totally fine, and we can continue. So let's go back to our map tool, and on details panel we need to provide our newly created texture as the reference for our plane, right there. Now let's add map actor, which will help us to deal with the movements and the markers on our map. For this, we need to select our player pawn and add child actor. Once it's done, preparations are nearly complete. The reason why I choose child actor, because I don't really care about begin play and end play. Once my main character is destructed, this child actor will destroy it also, and without any errors. So let's add some common markers, the markers that will be on our map, not as this representation, but interesting one that will behave very interesting also. For this, let's go to the blueprints, core, and drag and drop common marker. And let's place them somewhere on the buildings. One here, let's say one here, and maybe one here. Now, on each common marker, we can define the type and the data that it uses from the data table. Let's say this is gonna be type A, another one will be type B, and the last one type C. All these markers share the same behavior because they are all general. As you can see, I have location, and this number of types can be expanded, and each type of this marker can have very different behavior. So it's up to you to decide how to go with it. They are all actually changed via the data table that is here, db common marker. As you can see, here we can define the size, the offset. Offset here is in world units, and the lower it is, the higher it will be in the render queue. So if it's one, for instance, minus 100,000 units, it will be the first one to render, and this one will be the last. Let's change the size for everything. Let's go with 12. Now, the one thing is left. It's in our map tool, because this map is quite big. We need to adjust the size of the spline that we use as the path building tool. So, map tool, open it up, and here you can find on the event graph add spline mesh component. Here on the spline mesh, expand category and change start scale. Let's go with something higher, with and scale also. Now our preparations are done and we can launch the game and see how it works. So guys, I've launched the game, and as you can see on your left, you can see the minimap, and when I press tab, it's the world map. Those fancy looking icons are our common markers that we added on our scene. And because the distance to them is quite long, they are placed on the edge of my minimap. Now I start moving, and you can see that my movement is replicated precisely correct. Here I am near the building, which is our grocery store. So once I reach it, you can see the normal marker. Once it's out of my sight, it's added to the edge. Now let's rotate and see how markers behave. They always have the proper rotation independently on the rotation of our character. I can add vistas. It's like the point of interest. And if I don't need one, I can press second time and it will be dismissed. Now let's go somewhere and see how it works if I reach it. So once I reach my point of interest, this one is the debug view. So if I overlap it, the marker is dismissed. Next thing is that I can make the pass. So to this building, and it's added, and it's changing dynamically. So you can see I'm moving and the size of this pass is decreasing. Say I'm not gonna use this turn, but I'm gonna go straight, and you can see that the pass is rebuilding. And as for the vista, it will also dismiss once I reach my destination point. This pass builds only one time, and if I don't need to have this, I can deselect it and it's removed. So something like this. So guys, let's talk about breakdown of this feature. From this screen you can see like the basic idea which stands behind this feature. We have on the map tool scene capture component, and it has projection plane which is located underneath the landscape. We need to select static mesh actors that you want to add to the world and minimap texture. Then use capture tag and just capture it as an image. Then you can export it to Illustrator or like Photoshop and use it as the reference to draw over it, or you can use the one you have and if you like it. So those fancy planes are our common markers. They are basic WADs, so they have a particular material applied over it with the texture. They can be static or movable, depends on the behavior you would like them to be. They are also underneath the landscape, and that's why you don't see them, but scene capture sees. The altitude, because they are on the different altitudes, actually tells us the rendering order. So the one closer to our scene component is rendered the first one, and the lowest one will be the last one. So that's like that ordering in the simple UI. So for the map tool, the auto width of the scene capture defines how much area it will capture. So for the world map, I capture the whole area, and for the minimap, I use coefficient. So This coefficient is applied over the auto width, and it shows us the smaller area. Our widget contains of two images, smaller one and bigger one. On the tab key, we can see the world map, and if the tab key is unpressed, we see the minimap. Map actor is used as the child actor over the player pawn. It has two scene components. The one is for the world map, the one is for the minimap. They have different resolutions, different auto widths, and different behaviors. On the world map, only player marker is changing its position. On the minimap, it's static, but everything is moving. What else? Those scene components work only with the show list, and they are capturing on the demand, so it's not on the tick. Now let me show you some code features. So basically, we have three main actors. We have the function library. It's essential part because those actors doesn't know anything about each other, but with this one we can actually execute this function from any place in our blueprint or the widget blueprint. So that's how everything is connected. Map actor is only one child of our player pawn, so if we get all child actors and cast to it, the return value will break the for loop, and this will always return the proper map actor. Map tool is also only one instance that is placed in our scene, and I actually need some points from it, some attributes. I don't need to have the whole the reference to the whole actor. So these calculations are needed to make like proper behavior for everything. So as I said, minimap component, here you can see use show only list, capturing is dismissed, the same for the world map. On the when begin play, I change auto width for the minimap, for the world map, and so on. Player marker is here. It's not as the common marker because it has very individual movement and like movement behavior, rotation, scale, and so on. That's why I've implemented it here. But common markers like general and like vista, pass, and so on, they are part of this common marker. What else? Don't remember whether I told about those edge markers. So let me tell it one more time. Markers and edge markers. Once we can see once the distance between our marker and the marker on our world or minimap is short enough, they are represented by these planes in the world. Once the distance is higher, so they are out of our line of sight of the minimap, these planes are hide, but on the minimap, on the edge, we actually show images representing the same icons, the same markers. There is a neat trick how to measure the distance. So the distance between this marker and our marker, and how to maintain the same size between the static mesh actor and the representation of it on the UMG. Here on the common marker, there is update visibility function where I calculate whether it's outside of the minimap. So I basically have the distance calculated between me and the actor, I mean me and the marker, and then I get auto width divided by 2, because we only need to cover radius, not diameter. And this boolean actually tells whether we should hide representation of the marker in the world, our plane, this one, and the same logic we have inside our map edge marker. The same. This one operation actually helps us to maintain the same size, because everything is measured in unreal units. Auto width actually represents precisely correct pixel to pixel size, and correlating if we just divide the size that we have from our database on the map size in kilometers, this one is like 1 unit multiplied by 100,000 units to represent it as a kilometer. This one will return the proper desired size for our marker on our UMG widget, this one. And independently on the map capture size on the map tool, here the size of markers on minimap and world map both will be the same. One interesting fact is that if you talk about the map tool, there is the function which is called capture map, and here you can change the destination where you should store the projection that you made with this tool. So I guess that's it. Everything else is available in code and everything is quite obvious, so I guess you can like see it yourself. Whether you have some questions, you can ask me on Discord. And yep, subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like, leave a comment, and see you soon.